Everybody please stand up for the opening prayer. Miss Crystal Pitasa, please lead the prayer. Brothers and I am humbly asking for your for your guidance that we can learn any knowledge that will help us in the future. Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, Ma'am Sarong. So before you take up the seat, can you please pick up some brushes under your chair, arrange your chair, and organize yourself. Is everyone done? Okay, let's start the attendance. Boys, please count off and then girls after.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13? Kulay 13? Let's go. Okay, 13. Palit. Okay. 14.
15,
16. 18. 19. 20. 21. 22. 23. 24. 25. 26. 27. 28. 29. 30. 31. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 40. So is there absent today? Nawa. Wala. So good, everyone is present today. Now, who can recall what was our last topic last meeting? Anyone?
Inclusion and special needs and special education.
Yes, very good. So last meeting, we had talked about the special needs and the special education. Now these topics are connected with our topics for today's lesson. But before that, I will ask you a question first. Now what comes to mind when you hear this statement? Imagine a school where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to learn. What if we could create a space where differences are celebrated and everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background or learning styles? Nasaktan lang? What comes to mind when you hear this statement? So imagine a school where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to learn. What if we could create a space where differences are celebrated and everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background or learning style? Mr. Rendon, do you have any idea?
So, can you repeat the question?
So what comes to mind is when you hear this statement. Imagine a school where everyone feels valued, respected, and empowered to learn. What if we could create a space where differences are celebrated and everyone has the opportunity to thrive regardless of their background and learning styles?
So I believe everyone really wants to be valued, to be respected and accepted in different kinds of institutions, especially in the classrooms. We know that classroom is a diverse place, and if our differences must be celebrated, we'll be able to create a harmonious and a progressive classroom, and we'll be able to see progress in each individuals.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rendon, for your insightful insights. Now, in that statement, I know you had already, you have imaginations that you created inside your mind kung saan ang inclusive education. Now, those imaginations my puzzle are going to play. And then I will divide you into two groups. This is the group 1 and group 2, and you must choose your representatives to come in front to arrange and complete the puzzle. Understand that? So, okay, who's the representatives of group 1? Mr. Rikyek? Okay, Mr. Rikyek sa group 2. Pizza man sa group 2. How about Miss Archaga? Come on. Depende lang sa medyo sa inyo representatives. Yes, pwede ra. Archaga lang. Abangan doon ba? Bayot ako no? So you are going to arrange this puzzle.
Gonna kiss the rain.
Okay? Very good. And then after that, you are going to share your own understanding based on what the puzzles for today. So, asa ka muna? Let's start with the group 1. Sige, group 1. You are going to share your own understanding based on what the puzzles for today. Own understanding lang.
For me, there is a group of students,
Yes.
who were doing their own work as a student, and then there is an inclusive, or there is an illusion. This picture. Also, there's a person who has
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Balyotas. In addition to Ms. Balyotas' statement, so yan nakalimutan, ako lang inuwa yan nakalimutan. Kung naman ganit. So, as you can see in the puzzle, there are group of students. Some have a circle of friends, some are writing, some are smiling without teeth. So, there are diverse students. There are diverse students here in the puzzle, so there are inclusivity and equality in here. So,
Let's give them a round of applause. So how does the experience of connecting the puzzle go, Mr. Yekyek and Miss Balyota? Experience. Very nice. Okay, sa katong mga members ninyo nga nag-observe ra sa ilang arranging of these puzzles, unsa man yung na-observe in these activities? What do you observe in our activity today? Yes, Miss Archaga?
Kanang may mga tao nga sana na ikauban ba nga sana na ikauban nga samtang study or something nag-socialize nila o kanang sa ibang tao nga na samtang nasa usang community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Miss Archaga. And then how about sa bilang sa pictures nga ito ang nakita karon, but also your own representatives nga nag-arrange din sa puzzle. Yes, there's a cooperation and collaboration with each other, even though you are different with different groups, di ba? Now, based on your prior knowledge or understanding, how would you describe or explain concept of inclusive education from special education and mainstreaming education? How would you explain the concept of inclusive education from special education and mainstreaming education? Can I hear some thoughts? Oh, Miss Banyes.
So, my own insights about the inclusive education in terms of special education and the mainstream. We already know about the concept of inclusion, and oftentimes we correlate it with the normal classroom setup, like diverse abilities of students. And makondito ang special education because inclusion doesn't only go with normal schools without, and inclusion also highlights in special needs education. Kay in terms of people with disability tahay, di ba mo naman tayo kita mainstream, which is kanang na-expose sila in normal classroom settings, but ma-highlight gihapon na ilahang needs without feeling excluded sila sa normal world bitaw. That's why ang inclusion is kuha na ko sa special education and mainstreaming.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Banyes, for your answer. Now, for the last question, do you think each of us has the roles to create a more inclusive learning environment? So para ninyo, kita ba tanan na ay role nga maka-create ng inclusive learning environment? Mr. Rendon?
I believe that yes, we have this, we have the responsibility to be exact, to create an inclusive education for everyone. We are just students, but we can do something even in the most little way by just cooperating and adding something, each and every individual for us to create a harmonious environment, not just for us as normal, but also for those people who have disabilities. And yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rendon. Now, I guess you already have a guess nga kung sa atong topic for today's lesson. So, our topics for today is about creating inclusive cultures. So inclusion is as much the responsibility of society as it is the responsibility of schools. So this means that inclusion is making sure that everyone feels welcome and safe and has a chance to succeed. So just like kung sa atong gibuhat ganina sa atong activity in these puzzles, so kaning puzzle box, siyang puzzle box, they help each piece to find its place to connect with each other. So it's just like the school. So mo ang school, kaya ang school nag-create and nag-provide a place where everyone can learn and collaborate with each other. Now, this completed puzzle represents the society. Sa inyong nabantayan ganina ni Mr. Yek and ni Miss Valiota, that they are working together to create this puzzle. Now, imagine, if walay collaboration and cooperation nilang duha, do you think na inyong nakita karon nga puzzle is the same results? No, di ba? So that is why in the society, we must work together to create a more inclusive learning environment. So in this chapter, in this lesson, we shall learn that inclusive education is an ongoing collaborative process that needs to dynamically revisited. For it to truly work, its essence has to resonate all stakeholders of education. Now, kinsa man yung mga stakeholders? Now, these stakeholders refers to teachers, mga staffs, mga administrators, supervisors, principals, communities, our government, or even our parents or families, or like mga collective entities like local businesses, socio-cultural institutions, and so on. Now, there's a data in the book, according from the report of UNESCO in 2017, that there has been significant global improvement in accessing education for the last 15 years. However, its 2016 Global Education Monitoring Report reveals that the estimated 263 million children in youth nga nag-edad of 6 to 17 all around the world who are still not in school at this time. And sa ato ang Philippines Educational Statistical Data sa article na siya sa PhilStart updated on May 15, 2024, according to the PSA, na out of 42.8 million household population na nag-edad sa 5 to 24 years old, the PSA, 10.7 million or 25% are still out of school. This is due to a lot of various reasons and mga challenges na ato agyapon giato pa karon. Now, ang pangutana kung sa may mabuhat sa mga stakeholders to create an inclusive environment. The right-based approach to educational programming insists that no right can exist without a corresponding governmental obligation. So this means declaring the right education for all is not enough because it requires a corresponding governmental obligation. So, ang government understands they must work actively to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to access and benefit from education in order for that reality of inclusion to exist. Now, these are the following steps stakeholders can take to create a more inclusive learning environment. So, first, can I read the first one?
Set the parameters for inclusion.
Okay, set the parameters for inclusion. Now, the government here is making a plan and making our schools inclusive. So, apila na yung under making sure that the right students are placed in the right schools, and then hiring qualified teachers and working with other government agencies. So, this is not just all about the Department of Education, but it also involves like linking connections with the other governments or agencies, departments here in our country. So just like for example, nga if na ay specific or a certain public place like schools na who need special ramps for those students na nagkinahanglan o ingat itong agyaanan kay they use wheelchairs kay maglisod sila. Now, the government here, they would do or they would give enough funding para mag-build og ingat itong special ramp. Now, the Department of Transportation collaborate with silang duha to make sure that the special ramp they build is easy, safe, and accessible to use. So that is set the parameters for inclusion. Now, second,
Build key people.
okay, build key people. So build key people, nakafocus ani is training the teachers. So training the teachers, this mean nga ang mga teachers, kay naa naman sa 21st century, ang mga teachers is dapat, they must be expert on their fields. And unsa ra ganitong mga characteristics na dapat i-possess sa usa ka 21st teacher? Multi-skilled, multi-literate, flexible. Oh, yes. And then next is using evidence-based learning. So sa using evidence-based learning, this is a method where the teacher use nga ilang i-ensure nga ang ato ilang methods nga gigamit is effective for all students. And the next is continued research. This means the government are still looking for ways on how to improve our schools and making our schools inclusive. Now, it's stated in the book as well that educational frameworks cannot just be lifted and copy-pasted with the expectations that what work for one country will work for another. Do you agree? Yeah, so just like, ito na po nagamitan si puzzle. So just like if each piece, we're trying to fit a piece on a completely different puzzle, dili siya musibo, di ba? And that's what happens if we try to copy an educational framework from one country to another. Because we must understand that each country has unique challenges, resources, and cultural challenges. Just like, for example, if ang system is nag-rely heavily on standardized testing, ang usa ka country, it might work that system ana nga country if yung ilang focus is ang academic achievements of their students. But it will not work sa ka country if ang country is ganahan mag-focus sa creativity and critical thinking skills. Okay? Og ganahan ng country nga ma-develop ang critical thinking and creativity sa ilang estudyante is dili pwedeng mag-rely sila sa standardized testing. And that is why we need to understand the specific needs and circumstances of each country and tailor those systems to meet those specific needs. Okay? Now, last steps.
Identify and eradicate barriers.
So sa identify and eradicate barriers, so ano na nato ila-ilahon unsa man nagatong mga barriers na naghinder para makuha o ma-create nato ang inclusive environment. So kindly read the common barriers to inclusion.
Attitudes, values, systems, misconceptions, and societal norms. Physical barriers. Curriculum. Lack of teacher training and no teacher efficacy. Poor language and communication. Lack of funding. Lack of policies. Organization of educational systems. Too much focus on performance-based standards.
So yes, this is the common barriers to inclusion nga atong gi-identify sa last steps. Now in this steps, the government will try to change the attitudes and mindsets of our school community to acceptance and inclusion. That's why makita ninyo nga naa na tayong mga sports activity for mga disabled person. And that would challenge the stereotypes nga ang mga disability disabled persons is not just kanang incapable or different sila nato. So they can also showcase their talents and their full potential. And then also, mga physical barriers like mga kuwang taog, mga infrastructures, or like kanang bridges bitaw para sa mga estudyante nga maglisod o kanang agi. Maggikan sa ilaha, padong sa eskwelahan. Tungod sa kanang walay tulay. Kaya muagi pa sila mga sapaing anak. So that is all for the steps what stakeholders can do. And then next is, let's talk about the 3 types of education. Now, first is inclusive education. I know we already encountered this multiple times na kadaghan na ang inclusive education. Now, sa inclusive education, this is an educational system or approach that's designed to accommodate all types of learners regardless of their abilities, they're gifted ba sila, or talented, or they came from different cultural backgrounds. So, ang best example sa is mga public elementary schools, high schools, mga state universities. Now, also man po, or kinsa man po ang mga learners sa special education. So, sa special education, naka-design is designed to accommodate the learners with special needs. So, like for example, no, ingani na type ng education, naka-enroll ang ako ang igagaw. I have a cousin who has an autism, and ang ating education ng iyang naka-enroll siya, wherein taga-week is undergo siya session and therapies. Now, I have one question that I'm curious. Can a student with autism ba integrated in an inclusive education even if ang learning environment niya is different from what they need? Like, pwede ba ma-integrate ang student na may autism sa inclusive education?
Bukod sa behavior communication.
You have an idea, Ms. Vanyes? So the answer is not necessarily. Not necessarily. Why? Because while the goal is to include all students, we must ensure that the learning environment should be adapted. Kaya, this is what happens to my cousin. Nga mo siyang ang ako ang tita, enroll niya sa public school at first. And then dito niya nakita, na-observahan sa mga parents and classmates, and also his advisor na ang iyang behavior is different from the behavior of a normal kid. And because of that, the advice siya ay pa-consult ang iyang anak sa doktor. And dito na-diagnose na siya autism. And dito siya, undergo sessions and therapies wherein ang iyang skills and ways of learning is na-improve. And so, mga na ato ang timanan nga ang mga students with disabilities is pwede man sila makaparticipate sa inclusive education. Pero atong timanan nga ang ilang level ba is makasabay ba sila sa normal kid. So that is, we should ensure that the learning environment should be adapted to meet their specific needs. So din hamusod si mainstreaming education. Si mainstreaming education, mo ani ang practice helps or practice of selecting the learners with disabilities to integrate in a normal classroom. Selected learners are included in a general education class based on their readiness instead of their needs. So mo tay gingon po siya ang doktor nga once nga ready na siya, once nga makasabay na siya, is pwede na siya ma-integrate sa inclusive education. So ang timana na dyan nato is dapat ang learning environment niya is adapted to his or her specific needs. So next is the curriculum. Curriculum sa special education is strength-based and needs-based individualized curriculum. So din naka-focus siya sa strengths o individualized kanang specific needs niya. It's not relying on weaknesses. Like for example, if ang student is with disability, nga mag-isud siya o kanang basa, but strong siya sa visual representations, pwede gamiton sa teachers ang visual representation nga method para tabangan siya nga makabasa. Like, ang ilang gamiton din is ang strength sa bata. And then next is the general education curriculum. Sa general education curriculum, include ni siya like adaptation, differentiation, and collaboration. So muna ito ang na-experience karon. Sa adaptation, magamit tayo mga hands-on materials, technological tools, and then sa differentiation, nag-provide sa kanang mga time bitaw na ito nga pwede tayo maka-learn on our own pace and based on our level of understanding. So that is the general education curriculum. And then sa mainstreaming is combination na nila both. Pwede nila maka-access sa strength-based, individualized curriculum, and then pwede din sila maka-access sa general education curriculum. Now, next is the assessment and evaluation. The same with the process there is a curriculum, a strength-based, but it also sometimes pwede sila makagamit of standard-based. And then sa norm reference, the same sa itong na-experience karon na maggamit tayo mga technological tools and natin collaborations with each other students to learn. And then next is mainstreaming. So maghapon na ay combination sa duha. And then the learning placement and delivery of services. So ang learning placement ani is para sa kung igagawa nga siya ka ng designated jud nga ka ng lugar ba nga para na jud sa ilaha. And then sa inclusion, all services happen inside the general education classroom. Kaning settings nga naa nato karon. And then sa mainstreaming, the same, pwede sila mabutang sa usa ka place na included ay kanang designated region nga para nila, and then pwede po sila mabutang sa kanang place nga wherein pwede sila mahalubilo sa mga normal students. And then sa philosophy is learner-centered ang types. Sa philosophy sa special education, nakafocus na dyan na siya sa specific needs sa bata nga na disability. And then sa right-based, sa inclusion is ang right-based ani niya is naata equality or kanang chance or opportunity to learn something nahira sa kanang learner-centered. So naghantag mga din sa right-based. And then sa preparatory and integrative, so ang bata ibutang sa preparatory stage wherein kanang bata is hatagan siya o kanang school ay kanang types of education ba nga i-prepare siya nga para makasabay siya sa mga normal kids or students, and then dito na siya na integrative or integrate na siya sa normal school. So do you have clarifications or questions? None? Okay, let's proceed to our group activity. So I will use the same group gihapon, group 1 and group 2. So you are going to present or show a demonstration. Show a demonstration of what a school environment using the 3 types of education. So kamo na magpili if inyong gamiton ba is special education, inclusive education ba, or mainstreaming education. And then you will include mga common barriers, at least isa lang, and then how you are going to solve, and then highlights the role of stakeholders and how it affects the overall learning of the students. Okay? Okay, you may now start. Okay, let's have the group 1 first to present. Okay. Next, representers, the group 2. Okay, very good. You have presented your activity today, very organized, and nindot ang inyong content, inyong collaboration, and inyong communication with each other is sakto. So, I guess nakasapos mo sa ito ang topic today. Now, let's proceed to assessment. Asyo lang gihapon na sa
Jangan basah.
Okay, kindly read the direction.
Use 1/2 sheet of yellow pad paper and answer the following questions. What are the steps stakeholders can take to create inclusive cultures? What are the types of education inclusion that you have experienced before and now? If you are already a teacher, in what way would you promote and practice inclusivity in your learning environment?
Okay, now you may now start. Then pass your paper. Kulay check analika. Next video. So, for your assignment, can we read and copy your assignment in your notebook?
Identify an area for improvement related to inclusion within our school and develop a well-researched proposal for addressing the issue. You can also present a copy of your proposal to our relevant stakeholders. The deadline for the submission will be next Friday.
Okay, are you done copying your assignment?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have additional clarifications or questions? Okay. So, to top it all off with our lessons today, I will give you a quote. Inclusion is not a destination, so it's a journey. It's about constantly learning, growing, and striving to create a more equitable and just school for all. So this quote emphasizes that creating a school to be more inclusive requires a continuous process. So just as this piece, to create this final picture, each student can bring their unique talents, skills, and qualities, enriching the learning environment to be more inclusive and more safe and welcoming to everyone. So I guess that's all. Bye and thank you, students.
Goodbye and thank you, Ma'am Saro.